Thank you, Senator Shaheen. Senator Mullin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Hawk, Mr. Secretary, General Fenton, thank you for taking the time to meet with me individually, and thank you for the work you're doing and for being here in front of us too. General Fenton, thank you for bringing those three incredible Rangers by my office yesterday. It was such a pleasure to meet them. Makes you feel pretty secure about the future of the country with young men like that ready to serve.
Yes, it does, Senator.
With that being said, this is a question for General Fenton, Mr. Secretary, both. I mean, we all know some truths about the SOF community, and one of them is that a component of Special Operation Forces cannot be created after an emergency, correct? And General Fenton, I think you've said something very similar to that in the past. So with funding cuts, are we threatened by the training capability for our SOF community, by numbers and by training, to be able to meet the threats that this country may be facing down the road?
Senator, you certainly, personally, and again, thank you for that office call as well yesterday. I appreciated you meeting with the Command Sergeant Major and I and Secretary, but mostly with those three incredible Rangers that gave you the update on what they're doing. And I know they appreciated that as well. So thank you for taking your time on that. I would say first, our obligation to you and to this whole august body and our nation and department is always to give the best training, most rigorous, most arduous training to our Special Operations Command teams to better and to ensure that they never see something downrange they have not seen back here. In fact, it should be a lesser task in many ways, because of the training we're driving them towards. So you got my commitment on that. As we look forward in terms of the Iron Triangle, as I like to talk about it, modernization, training and readiness and operations, I think personnel reductions and a flat or decreasing buying power of the budget, along with certainly continuing resolutions, which always hurt, all of that works together to help us make a risk-informed decision on where we go. But you got my commitment on training center. It's always going to be the toughest, hardest, and most arduous.
I like how you said risk-informed decision. I understand you have to mitigate risk and do the best with it. When we talk down the road again, let's visit more specific about that in a different setting. And Mr. Secretary, same thing. As I said yesterday, I'm here to assist you guys. You're taking care of all of us, and we want to make sure that we're working together. As I like to say, we're in the same boat, we're in the same direction. Now, General Fenton, just because this is something that's very important to me, is TBIs. I know you have taken a lead with the SOF community, making sure that there is a lot more knowledge of the TBIs. Can you maybe explain to us a little bit more about any steps of new equipment that may have been issued to SOF to prevent or mitigate some of these TBIs?
Senator, I absolutely can. And that question, and certainly my answer, point right to the heart of our number one priority, as you and I and the Secretary discussed yesterday, our people. They are a competitive advantage and comparative advantage, and everything we do in a health, safety, and welfare is really pointed toward that. I'd say on TBI and certainly concussive type events, all affecting the brain, we're taking a number of steps. As a trailblazer and pathfinder, I think SOCOM was the first to come out with a brain health policy. That certainly has then been adopted by the department and many others. And that's because, to my point, we're committed to the focus of our people and being a trailblazer for the department. I think the other thing you'll see us doing is really through a lens we call trying to understand this, both the concussive type event and blast type events, going to any location that'll do research for us. One of those was Massachusetts General Hospital. The Command Sergeant Major and I visited, gotten an outbrief on that, and we're really able to determine where we might want to go on a longitudinal study. That was a shorter, probably one-year study against 30 of our high-end teammates, but where we take that, along with some studies we're doing out of other research locations in North Carolina. I think beyond that, what you see us doing is learning to ID it through baseline assessments, similar in some ways to what the NFL may be getting for concussive protocols. We're working closely with the NFL on how they're doing the work they're doing, so we're informed by it, and we're sharing ours as well. And then blast sensors, as you just may have intimated in terms of what we have for our teammates to wear. I think you'd see us across all that. And lastly, mitigating it. We recognize a lot of this type of concussive events, specifically the brain, comes in training for our force to be as lethal as they need to be and to win every time downrange when called upon. And so you see us in places like our shoot houses or our blast ranges with absorbent material. You also see us doing a lot more, Senator, in the AR/VR space. So we can get reps and sets before we have to actually get in the dirt and fire the weapon, though we got to do that in order to stay lethal. You'd see us also looking at the sensors, as I mentioned, to ID it. And then at some point, we're even looking at printing lower blast or pounds per square inch charges, 3D printing charges we can use in the breach. And then lastly, I'd just add suppressors. We're getting after all that and more in order to protect our most incredible investment, our people.
Well, TBI is something very personal to me, something I'd love to work with you on. Recently at SHOT Show, which I know a lot of your community is very familiar with that, I came across some equipment that I thought was extremely interesting, and I'd love to maybe get it across your desk at some point. General Hawk, I do have a question for you, but I'm out of time, Mr. Chairman, and so I'll submit it to the record. All right.
Thank you, Senator Mullin. Senator Blumenthal, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your